time for the Jedi to end. Thank God! Now don't get me wrong, I'm as excited as anyone else about seeing The Last Jedi this December. And yeah, I still enjoy the franchise for what it is and enjoy the new characters mixed in with the old. But when Luke Skywalker, one of my big-time childhood heroes, is calling out the Jedi Order, the order he serves, by the way, as being full of shit, I'm inclined to agree with him. Yeah, Star Wars is full of epic good versus evil battles and puts into play a lot of moralities and ideas with regards to spirituality and the Force. But you have to admit, when expanding on the mythology and stuff like, say, the prequels, George Lucas and company dropped the ball in two key points: the Jedi and the Sith. Now, this isn't going to be straight up prequel bashing, because there's plenty of other channels out there that do it very well with in-depth analysis and plenty of snark. Blanket! And I got to admit that a couple of points that I bring up in this top 10 list have been touched upon in other people's interpretations of Star Wars lore. This is just a list from my perspective. These are the top 10 reasons I've come across for myself that I feel kind of portray the Jedi and Sith as kind of the worst thing that ever happened to the galaxy. So here we go with 10 reasons why the Jedi and the Sith are kind of the worst.
Number 10. Midichlorians. Let's get this out of the way. I think we can all agree that giving people a genetic predisposition to use the Force was a stupid idea. It takes any and all spiritual elements out of Star Wars. Forget being an exceptional individual in tune with the universe and your surroundings. All it boils down to is a matter of having the right DNA. And if you have the right DNA, boy is it gonna suck for you. Not only will you have potentially Jedi and Sith forces vying for your allegiance at all times, eventually leading to a life of solitude, betrayal, and inevitably death, but apparently it's pretty easy to identify individuals with a high midichlorian count. You'd better hope all those galactic struggles don't come down to some sort of eugenics wars, otherwise you're fucked. Again, it's a stupid explanation for something that didn't need explaining. Number 9. Lightsabers. Don't get me wrong, I think lightsabers are a cool visual, and they have produced some very entertaining action sequences, but having them be the standard weapon of choice for Jedi and Sith not only takes away from their uniqueness, but also makes them stagnant and boring. You don't have to look far for weaponless Jedi or Sith who are awesome. Before the prequels got their dirty midichlorian mitts on them, Yoda and the Emperor were the most badass Force users around. They didn't need laser swords. Their ability to manipulate or harness the Force to serve them was intimidating enough. But all of that mystique is done away with in the prequels because Lucas thought people would love seeing a Muppet and a senior citizen touch laser tips? How much cooler would it be to see Jedi and Sith with a more diverse array of weaponry at their disposal? Or not relying on weaponry at all? It's this adherence to the lightsaber that actually leads into my next point. Number 8. Lack of diversity. Now, I can hear you already. How can I claim lack of diversity in a series that showcases several aliens, races, and genders as being in the ranks of the Jedi? Well, let me specify. It seems the Force tends to favor humanoid species to be its messengers. When was the last time you saw an amoeba Jedi? Or a Sarlacc pit Jedi? Or even a Jedi composed entirely of a gaseous vapor? Can you even imagine the possibilities of the Force being used in such a vast array of creatures and beings? Hell, in some of the Dark Empire comic book stories, I think they may have even dabbled in the idea of a tree Jedi that called upon the power of the earth it was rooted to. This may seem like a very trivial concept, but think about it. The Jedi appear to have based their practices and usage of the Force to favor mainly humanoid species. For an allegedly enlightened order of space knights, that seems like a very myopic approach. They have unwittingly limited themselves to the physical and mental constraints of a humanoid-based system of combat. Compare that to something like the Green Lantern Corps that has enlisted a variety of creatures and species, ranging from gas clouds to insects to a friggin' planet. There is no limit to what they can do besides their sheer willpower, a very Star Wars-y concept. Shame Star Wars has kind of forgotten it in recent years. Number 7. Jedi Sith Academies. Before the expanded universe stories, I'd always enjoyed the idea that Jedi and Sith were like nomads or Ronin. wandering warriors who increased in their power and knowledge of the Force through life experiences, and getting mixed up in the light or dark sides of adventures, joining forces with their colleagues only for conflicts on a galactic scale like the Clone Wars. Imagine my lowered expectations when it's revealed that actually the true path of a Jedi or Sith relies heavily on attending a prestigious academy and enrolling in the right courses. Consolidating all of that power in what is, frankly, a very mundane structure, again takes away from the unique experience of being in tune with the Force. All of the wonder and intrigue that Obi-Wan alludes to regarding being taught by such a wise master as Yoda, it's done away with in a scene of him instructing a bunch of preschoolers, like it's any other day. Nothing special about Yoda's teachings, I guess. Apparently he's the regular instructor of Lightsaber 101. And speaking of teachings and lessons, number 6, Jedi Curriculum. Remember that exercise Obi-Wan improvised for Luke in A New Hope, with the laser ball and the blast shield covering his eyes? That felt way more genuine and insightful than the Lightsaber 101 scene in Attack of the Clones. It felt natural, like a life lesson for both student and teacher being realized in the moment. Now, I'm sure you could argue that providing young Jedi a rigid and universal structure would help the more powerful gain a sense of control. 'Cause it worked out so well for this kid. But honestly, all I see is straight up indoctrination. Being separated from your family at a young age, adhering to a strict regiment and set of values, which we'll get into later, having limited contact with the outside world save for training or missions. Sounds like the makings of some stable individuals to me. Number 5, the Rule of Two. On the flip side, I can't say that the Sith are much more on the ball when it comes to furthering their cause. The infamous Rule of Two employed by the likes of Sidious and Vader while exemplifying their greed and ambition really serves as a major handicap to the Sith agenda if you really think about it. The idea that there is only a master and an apprentice, who will eventually usurp the master, can somewhat limit the prospects of a Darth ever establishing a lasting foothold on the galaxy. At least in the expanded universe stories like Legacy, they established the idea of one Lord of the Sith commanding several sublords and acolytes, until the day that one of them overthrows the crown. Sure, there's still a constant reminder of potential backstabbing, but at least there's strength in numbers to continue dominating the galaxy. Number 4, high profile. Again, I don't mean to side with the Sith, but you've gotta hand it to them. They stay secretive and quiet until the moment they strike. Jedi are way too outgoing about who they are and what they do. Having them be officially recognized keepers of the peace automatically places a target on them. It doesn't help that they also tend to congregate in one central location most of the time. Gee, if I want to strike at the heart of the Jedi Order, where would I start? Number 3, no women, no children. This kind of goes hand in hand with the Jedi training, but I feel it also is its own issue. The lack of community or family save for the Jedi Order itself. The in-universe logic stands that Jedi must always maintain some form of emotional detachment from their charges and the Galactic Republic they serve. No prospects of family life, no drive for social outlets. A Jedi constantly strives to keep peace and order for the galaxy as a whole. And I would buy this philosophy more if the Jedi were people who chose of their own volition to take up these oaths after living a spell in the world. But that's not the case. They're trained from seemingly early youth to honor these principles, no questions asked. How can you ever hope to preserve the peace if you yourself have never actually been a part of it? It's what makes a character like Luke all the more compelling compared to Qui-Gon Jinn. Luke has known love and friendship before his official Jedi training even begins, and that makes him more sympathetic to the need for stability in the universe. Forbidding Jedi to have families and children doesn't preserve their emotional stability. If anything, it may accidentally upset the balance. It's this stifling of feelings that automatically contradicts one of the prime tenets of the Jedi. Number 2, stretch out with your feelings, but not really. It's established that effective use of the Force requires a combination of mental discipline and emotional balance. That is, until it doesn't. As much as the Jedi are instructed to trust their feelings or instincts, they have to constantly make sure that they don't overindulge them and fall prey to the dark side. The same goes for the Sith somewhat. They're encouraged to act on their instincts, desires, and feelings. But therein lies the trap of potentially reconnecting with their past selves or the light side. Utilization of the Force for selfish or selfless ends becomes a bit nebulous as well. Sometimes the Jedi call upon their abilities for menial or petty tasks. Wouldn't that be a slow descent into evil given everything that's been established regarding the dark side? When you have such a far-reaching concept as the Force in play in your story and characters, it opens it up to a myriad of interpretations that are neither black nor white but are instead shades of gray. Which brings me to the final reason. Absolute Jedi Sith. I believe Obi-Wan himself said it best. Oh, hypocrisy, thy name is Kenobi. As much as the Jedi love to harp on the Sith only dealing in purely selfish and malevolent motivations, they really are no better. When they find out one of their own has fallen to the darkness, what is their response? Do they attempt to reason with him? Do they try to remotely understand what he's been through and see if they can help him find his way back to the light? Nope. First call is to kill him. Nothing can be done, he's killed some god-awful child actors, so therefore he's beyond our reach. Compare this approach to Luke's in Return of the Jedi. He knows who Darth Vader really is, but he also knows what he's done. He has the blood of possibly billions on his hands. But Luke's first instinct isn't to obliterate his father, even though apparently both the Emperor and Obi-Wan's ghost really want him to. Sorry, Annie. Instead, Luke tries to reason with what little spark of humanity is left in Vader, to truly reach out with his feelings and make a connection. He doesn't just see another purely evil obstacle, he sees a person in need of help. And ultimately, it's that attempt to truly understand and even sympathize with your opponent that brings out Anakin's redemption. That's why Luke's apparent disillusionment with the Jedi legend in the Last Jedi trailer seems like a very legitimate move for the character. It's still wild speculation at this point, but wouldn't that be the ultimate twist in the Star Wars saga? In order to get rid of the Sith once and for all, the Jedi, the biggest perpetrators of division and lack of compromise, must also be sacrificed? And why not? Take the destiny of the galaxy out of the hands of the power-hungry Sith and the emotionally cold Jedi and put it back into possession of the people, exceptional and capable of furthering the will of the Force in their own unique ways.
But that all being said, this list was meant to purely just be in good jest and fun, and I am looking forward to the next installment in this epic space saga, until it's revealed that Jar Jar is behind everything.